X. So chat, couple things today. Okay, so first things first is, let me just stop, pause the music. First things first is news today. All right, so obviously today you have my bad. Today you have news here. You got news, revised consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. But for the most part, it looks pretty straightforward. I don't expect the craziest algo day, but I would expect some pushes today, at least towards like 19. Oh, I'll get into the breakdown here in a bit. All right, but yeah, it should be a pretty decent day. I don't think it's gonna be a dead or dry day today at all. I think you come back next week on, you have a couple folders next week. You have consumer, wow, Tuesday's a very volatile day. You have receiving consumer confidence, and then you have job openings. Wednesday you're gonna have prelim, GDP, non-farm employment change, ADP. Thursday you have core PCE price index, unemployment claims, and Friday you have NFP. So next Friday, chat, is NFP Friday. It's the 1st of September, and then ISM manufacturing PMI. So next week is gonna be heavy with folders, and I think obviously next week is the last week of the month, right? So yeah, things should get interesting for sure with the way the month is gonna close and how it's gonna close and what next month's gonna do, or how it's gonna lead to next month's positions. It's gonna be an interesting month, chat. But before I get into all of that, let me just go ahead and share my Zoom, and then make sure I just you know, get that started. Yo, who's drinking coffee? This is just straight espresso shot. That's it. No sugar, no milk, just straight up. Tier 3. Those chat, course people, course chat. By the way, you guys, if you guys have a tier 3, right, on YouTube, I mean, you have no obligation to buy it. The streams are free, but if you have a tier 3, you have free access to the Zoom. But make sure, if you already have a tier 3, link your Zoom to your Discord, or your YouTube to your Discord. If you don't know how, go on Discord, go on settings, go on integrations, and then link your YouTube to your Discord, and then it should drop you into the Control FX or the Devious server, and then give you a role to YouTube members, and all the YouTube members have Zoom access. Again, it's all free, right? But like, if you want to or whatever, go ahead. Boom boom boom, saying link there. Okay, cool, we're chilling now. All right, cool. So chat, what's going on, man? So today, yeah, things are looking pretty good. I'm just gonna do the breakdown real quick. Let me see how many people we have in here right now. We got 1,000 people, 1,100 and 200 likes. Chat, hey chat, leave a like before we do this analysis, chat. Let's get to 400 likes. I think we can do it. 400 likes. By the way, is the stream yesterday up yet or no? I don't think it is, right? I think yeah, no, it's not up. It's too long. I don't know if I can fix it. I try to fix, or Circle try to fix it, and it still says the same shit. Like, you can't even edit the stream. It was a long stream though. We might get to 100k views, man. Oh well, maybe one day it'll be back up. I don't know. I can't really do much though. I think because it's too long, and YouTube only archives streams under 12 hours. So you can stream for as long as you want, but they'll only archive streams which are shorter than 12 hours. So I'm trying to see if I can crop it down to the last 12 hours, but it doesn't even give me the feature of crop. So maybe after some time it might, but I highly doubt it. That should not be gone. What happened to a 9-lot trade? No loss. The 9-lot trade was a win. We closed off I mean, I can't show you guys, but you know, if you were there, like 3,000 people were there to witness it. We closed off 34 pips in profit on all 3 positions combined. Right? What was this one right here, right? Actually, wait, what am I talking about? I can show you guys right here in my MT5. Yeah, right here. We closed off 1, 2, and 3, just right there, 1911 on a dot. On the dot. Yeah. All right, chat. Quick analysis, or not quick analysis, but analysis real quick. All right, so couple things you want to look out for today. So starting off here with like the higher time frame, in terms of like the monthly and everything, because I always want to start with those time frames, right? Even though it doesn't affect my 10-pip trade, it's still going to affect the overall idea of what I'm doing today. So I want to make sure I have an understanding of each time frame. It's very key to do so. All right, never overlook these things when you're doing your analysis, and make sure you're always paying attention to every time frame. It's very key, trust me. It'll be worth it. Now, starting off here with gold here. If you guys take a look at gold here, right now we're in a pretty interesting spot, because do you know how I always say before price makes a decision on where it wants to go next, it's got to tap certain levels, right? That's just normal price action. It's just support and resistance, continuation, or even continuation, and then a range. And you know, at that range you have a decision to break up, give a fake out back into the range, or break up and continue, or break back down and then continue back down, reverse, right? Those are your 3 options really. So that's what your options here is really, right, on gold. So if you guys take a look here at the monthly time frame, you're gonna notice that there's a strong resistance here, right? So earlier this month we mentioned that, okay, if price is forming some type of strong resistance here, I would assume that your next support will be somewhere down here, right? And that's kind of where price tapped into. You can probably see it. This is now a range formed, right, in this orange box here, and this is the range you're in. So if this is the range you're in, and then all of a sudden in the last couple of days you close bearish at resistance here, right? So for instance, you close bearish here, not last couple of days, I lied, the last couple of months, right? You close bearish back into the range, indicates that, you know, you're rejecting resistance, just like these candles to the left have all done here, right? So what that means is that if you're breaking back into the range, you should come down to fill the range, right? So the overall range, I'll say, would be this green line right here to this support down here. This is your overall range, right? But in your range, you're gonna have more ranges. In this case, you have a range from 2000 to 1880. Why? Because you have a minor level of support there, right? And these minor levels of supports are areas that price likely will tap before it makes a decision on where it wants to go next, right? So sometimes, for instance, you might see something like this, right? Like you guys are gonna see, let me just remove this line real quick for you guys. So like, look, let's say your support's right here, right? And then this is your resistance, right? So you're gonna notice that in this case here, you know, like the last 2 months, you never really tapped into the level. You came close, came to like 1893, but you never came down and tapped 1887 right into that support level. And then you finally tapped into it, and then you started to reject, right? So at this point on is when you'll probably see price start to make a move. It'll make a decision, right? The decision will be, well, am I gonna close bearish on the monthly to continue down, or am I gonna just, you know, continue to close respecting maybe this minor support to the left here, or even bullish this month? You have 6 days left, right? So if you have 6 days left, the last 6 days of the month, if the whole month's been pushing down, again, it had no top wick, the whole month literally just did, all it did was push down this month, right? So if that's what price is doing this month, we start to pull back here, right? And if you do start to pull back and you have like 6 folders next week, what can happen to the monthly? Could the monthly flip for a top wick, right? Because that's a concern now, right? We have no top wick on the monthly. What that indicates is that at any given point, price could end up literally just flipping bullish, right? And then maybe even close bearish or whatever, but like just flipping bullish to create a top wick before it decides on where it wants to go next, right? Again, you're likely going to be in this range for the month. You're not going to break out. I highly doubt it, but next week with all the folders and the way we're pushing up and pulling back on a monthly, we may end up coming up for a top wick. Again, I don't know, we'll see, but just understand what part of the cycle you're in. Understand that you could pull back for the monthly, and if you do pull back to the monthly, right, that monthly resistance now is going to be somewhere over here, right? Like that top wick area is right here. What is that? 1960. So then next week you can start planning for buys towards 1960 if that's your idea for the monthly now, right? But again, it comes down to the small time frame as well, right? This is just the overall outlook. This is just overall like what's happening on the higher time frame. Whatever I just did on a monthly is what you want to do in each and every time frame. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. So now I want to drop down to the weekly, right? And the weekly now, again, right now I have no idea what's going on, right? Still, I don't have a clue what's going on. This is completely normal, right? Don't stress it. If you look at the monthly and you're like, okay, well, how does that affect this? I don't know yet, right? I just know the monthly is doing so, and I'm gonna drop down to the weekly and collect more data. And as I collect more data, I might get some ideas that pops up in my head, right? And the more time frames I go through, right, the smaller times I drop into, the better of an idea I'll have on where price wants to go today and how it will affect the higher time frames, right? So monthly, just mentioned it. Weekly, right now we're currently sitting over here in this so you create a top wick, right? The weekly never came down. I think you came down and break the lows at one given point, but that was on Sunday. And then you started to just again, this is your resistance here, right? So you came up and you created a top wick for the previous weekly high. Now price has an opportunity to do the craziest thing today, but I highly doubt price to do it. It could flip today, continue to drive down, say with the folder, right? Because your next support looking left here, it's going to be somewhere down here at like 1870, 1880, right? Why? Because look left, you have clean traffic as you flip bearish here. Not only that, but if you guys look left as well, right, you're going to notice that whenever you guys pay attention, if you guys are paying attention to this range here, whatever, let's say this is your resistance here, right? Or right here, that's your resistance, and then this is your next support, right? If you guys take a look here, looking left to right, I'm looking left to right. I'm trying to see in this current range we're in, right? I'm trying to see what are we mirroring, right? So if you guys take a look here, let's just go ahead and draw a resistance here, start things off. Right around, I'll say here, right? Because you have some type of supports here, support here, resistance up here, resistance here, resistance here, support there, right? So if you were to like connect the dots, you'll see that the medium average is probably gonna be that line I just drew out, maybe a little lower, but right there, 1917, right? That's your resistance now. So if that's your resistance now, right, I'm trying to see now, okay, well, all the times, like what happened on price currently, right? Price currently came from 1980, it made its way and closed below 1917 here, right? So that's what's key here. You came from above and then you closed below 1917. Now let's look left to see what price did in the past when it did that, right? So first step is I'm gonna highlight all the times where you close back into the range from above. Right here, 1, right? Came from above, I guess right here, 2, right? 3 probably came from up here, perfect, right there, right? 4, or 3, and then currently obviously 4, right? So I guess that's what you're looking at right now in price. So if I'm taking a look at that on the weekly, right, and I'm noticing that, okay, well, the weekly, those are all the times that you came down the weekly. I now want to identify, okay, well, where was the top wick before you came down, right? Because now you're looking now like that your zones are marked up here. You want to pay attention to how price closed below the range and how it opened up, right? So if I were to take my tool out here, my green tool, or my green circle here, or actually I'm using blue because I haven't used green, right? I'm gonna highlight the areas where you close below. So 1, you close below here. It's a little too dark. I'm gonna do yellow. 1, you close below here. Close below here, right? Close below here, and obviously current close. So like if you guys take a look at all those closures now, right, what do you gotta notice? You're gonna notice that there was top wicks, right? So going back to that, circle the top wicks, you'll say top wicks before you drove down towards your next support was probably, in this case, you had a top wick area around here, right? And then in this case, you had one right there, right? So as those are your top wick levels on price, I would assume the same thing should happen here. So if that's where, you know, if these are the areas you're tapping into here and then here, right, I'll say around there is where your top wick should be. So this week I was expecting a top wick right around here before coming down, right? Because that's what happened in the past. So as you came down in the past, where'd you come down towards after a top wick? Looking left here, you're able to make a push. Let me just remove his lines here so it's less confusing, but or remove the circles at least, right? So in the past, when you close below, where'd you come down towards, right? Here in this case, it came down towards there. That was a low. In this case, came down towards here, made a low. This case came down towards here, started to pull back. And yeah, should be those areas there. So now I want to obviously connect the dots, right? I want to see what the medium average is, what like your support is. I'll say it's around here because you're kind of connected all through 3, right? So 1960 is your next support now. So that's the weekly, right? Then that was what I was expecting for the weekly to do. I was expecting the weekly to continue pushing down towards 1860 to fill into this range here, and also to create a bottom wick for this weekly fill, right? Because that's your clean traffic mirror. So that's what we were expecting for the weekly. Now we're on to Friday, right? You got the top wick, you tap into the top wick area. Now it's just about rejecting to continue down, because depending on how the weekly closes, it could lead to next month's positions, or yeah, next month's positions, right? Because now the monthly has about 6 days left, the weekly has 9 hours left. If the weekly decides to close above the ranges today, right, above this resistance here, right, because that's your support now, above this resistance, the next week's candle is likely gonna continue to drive bullish, because it's the last week of the month and you're likely gonna pull back for the last week of the month, right? The last 6 days, obviously. And if you pull back with the weekly closure, you're gonna pull back a lot stronger than you should. And if you do pull back and you close above in the weekly, look left. Where's your weekly resistance next? Your weekly resistance is right here at 1965. Oh wow, go back on the monthly now, right? What's 1965? You're gonna see the monthly's 1965 is what? The top wick on, like literally on the dot, the top wick of the monthly, right? So now pieces are starting to make more sense now, right? The weekly connects with the monthly in the way, but again, it comes down to how we close, right? If you close above the range, the next week you can look for a lot of buys. However, if you do end up closing below the range, right? So if this is your resistance over here, you close below those ranges. Even if you close bullish, you're fine, because it's still respecting resistance, right? Next week's candle could create a top wick, but likely it's gonna continue to drop down further to fill that range, if that's how the monthly or if that's how the weekly candle closes here in 9 hours. Or even better, you might make the move right now today during the session, which I'll prefer, but you know, we can't always get the most perfect setups, right? So that's the monthly, that's the weekly. We understand those two situations there and what's kind of happening. Now you want to drop down to daily, because again, you still don't have enough information yet to really take positions, but you have an idea of where price is kind of headed if it were to do so, or if it were to do this, right? So now you want to drop down to daily. This is what I'm doing now. Drop down to daily. I'm going to take a look at the current daily ranges. Right now we're in a range from, basically, to mark up your current levels, I'll just put support right here and I'll put resistance right here, right? This is what you want to pay attention to, right? So if I'm looking left here and these are my 2 strong levels, I want to pay attention to what happened in the past at these 2 strong levels here. So there was one time on gold there, I think it was on the 4-hour time frame. But before I go down to that, I'm just do this real quick. Sorry. So like, yeah, you had the daily time from here. You close, looks like you closed above the most recent resistance here, right? If you guys take a look here, close right above it. Looking left, you could drive up towards the next resistance. Your next resistance could be up here at 1926, or it could be a little higher at probably 1940. But I'm just gonna put 1926 for now, because that's the most recent resistance, right? And that's also the wick fill. If you were to come up to it, you'll fill that daily wick. So daily looks like it's pretty bullish today. Now my only concern here really on the daily is, where's the bottom wick, right? To be honest, I'm expecting a steeper bottom wick than this before continuing to drive up, right? Because daily close above the ranges. If you guys take a look left here, every time in the past where you close above the range, so you want to mark up probably this closure, right? Or you want to mark up yeah, you want to mark up this closure over here, close above, right? And then drove up, close above, and then obviously drove up, close above, drove up, fill the ranges, close above, drove up, fill the ranges, right? So let me just do this real quick. Close up there, and then I guess right here too, right? I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so that's why I'm looking left there. Like, this is just the most recent too. We can go further back and look for more information, but this should be enough for now. So like this, that's why I noticed, right? Every time you close above, you're able to drive up to fill the top of the range. Now if this is your support at 1914, you want to ask yourself now the same thing you asked yourself earlier: where's the bottom wick on the daily, right? Like, what levels are we tapping on the daily? Looking left here, every time you drove up, want to just circle the areas you drove up from. So in this case, like you create a bottom wick here, then you drove up, right? Bottom wick was here before you drove up. Bottom wick was here before you drove up. In this case, bottom wick was here before you drove up. So connect the dots, right? Connect the dot strategy. Boom, boom. What's the medium average of support, resistance? Again, you don't need to connect the dots, but just show you guys how I draw my support and resistance. Like ideally it would be right there, right? So if that's where the bottom wick was in the past, shouldn't I expect a bottom wick to tap into those areas before you continue to drive up here as well, right? That area is 1910. So I'm looking for a bottom wick now towards 1910, 1908 in these ranges here before continuing to drive up towards the next resistance on the daily, right? The daily is bullish, don't get me wrong, but before price drives up, I would expect us to grab more liquidity before making our way up towards 1926. Now that you understand, you know, areas that price may tap before making the move up, right? You know where your target is today. You know what the bottom wick level is today at. You could either one, take buys towards the day target, or two, take sells towards the bottom wick, right? Totally up to you. Me, I'm very open to both positions, right? Like I understand if I were to take sells, I'm taking a pullback for a bottom wick. I understand if I take buys, I'm taking a continuation of the trend. So for sells, I might not be as aggressive for runners, but for buys, I may be more aggressive for runners. I mean, you know, actually leave the runners running. So now that you have those two things out of the way, you kind of have a direction for both areas and both target levels, right? For buys and sells, you want to drop down to a small time frame, which is a 4, 1, 30, 15, and look for how you can take those buys towards, again, 1910 or towards 1926, right? So just remember those numbers there. So 1910, and then you have 1926, right? So just keep those numbers in the back of your mind because they will come in clutch as I drop down to a small time from here. So because you're gonna see those numbers getting tapped again, or you're gonna see those numbers on a smaller time from here. So drop down to the 4-hour time frame, right? First things first, pretty straightforward, off rip, right? Without you having to take a second glance of it, you're gonna notice that this is a range on fake out on gold here, right? So you had a resistance here, right? You had a support right here on price, most recent support. This is your current range you're in right now. If this is the range you're in, right, when price closed below the range, you will expect price to continue driving down, but price did not. Price came back into the range. It closed below right here, and then all of a sudden the next candle closed back into the range, indicating what? Indicating that that was a range on fake out. Now my only concern with the range on fake out was, again, the daily bottom wick, right? And if you guys take a look left here, I'm looking left at all the times where I guess, like, I'm looking left at this, I guess, right? I'm noticing that there was a level right around here that you kind of tapped into in the past, and that happens to be like around 1912, 1910-ish, right? So before, or right here, actually, I'll put it right here. So before, you know, price makes its way up today, one, I would expect price to come down towards 1910 first, and two, since you have no bottom wick there, it will also be the bottom wick of the previous 4-hour candle as well. So then the candle will end up looking something like this probably before making its way up, right? That'll be when you grab liquidity. That's perfect. That's a bottom wick. That's your liquidity. That's your, whatever you want to call it, 61.8 retracement. That's your whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever you want to describe it as. But that will be the bottom wick area, I'll say today, 1910, 1912. You're just looking at these areas to the left here as your rejection levels, right? So same thing should happen here before our price makes that move up, because in order for price to make its move up towards 1926, right, which is right here, 1926, your next resistance, it needs to pull back to grab liquidity first, right? Like even these areas to the left here, every time that like price made its way up here towards 1926 here, so you're looking at these poles here, you're looking at these poles here, you're looking at these poles here, these poles here, right? Bottom wicks in those cases were one here, 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 right? So again, connect the dots again, right? So 1, 2, and then 3. What's your medium average support? I'll say the middle is like right around here, right? Or yeah, right around there, right? 1912, 1910. So before price makes its way up today, I would expect to break out lows minimum on the 4-hour candle. So you might have an entry at 1910, 1912 instead of 1910, and then maybe stack more positions on 1910 for pineapples if it weren't to reject, right? And then obviously then you'll see price make its way up towards the next resistance, and that's going to be, again, looking left, 1926. But in order for price to do that, it's got to grab liquidity first, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at on price here. Again, price might not do that. It may just continue to drive for all I know. But in order for me to take a position, I need to see that form to take buys. So that's the 4 hour time frame, right? Pretty straightforward. Drop down to like the 1 hour, for instance, now, right? 1 hour time frame has a minute and a half for a closure. You want to wait for the closure. To be honest, it's not looking as great. This candle is going to close very weak bullish here. It's going to close above the range, but it's going to be very weak here. There's also another major resistance at 1920. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my resistance up here. Or no, right here, 1919 actually. Yeah, right there. That's your resistance now. Right? So unless you close above here in a minute 26 seconds, I'm not looking for buys just yet, because if you close below this range here, especially after this, there's a high chance the next 1 hour candle is going to continue to push to pull back and maybe even form that bottom wick for a 4 hour candle, and we might be able to get sells, right? So that's the 1 hour candle. There's all resistance at 1926. There's a support down here at like 1910, 1912, right? So this is the ranges you're in right now. I'll say buys for me though. If you were to drive above, close above 1921, and you weren't to pull back, then sure, above 21 after you grab some liquidity at 1919 would be great for buys. But until you actually close above 21, anywhere buys anywhere in this zone to like this zone is very tough, because any given point you can come down for the 4 hour bottom wick, and you don't want to be in buys when you're creating a 4 hour bottom wick, right? It's gonna be very tough. So yeah, these are my ranges here. On the 1 hour time frame, you're not going to close above, so that's good. So now it's like, okay, well, how can we take sells now to come down to retest the lows towards 1912, 1910, right? So let's leave this level down here at 1910. Just show you as a reference, right? Drop down to 30.15.5. This is when it's kind of like whatever. Like I can drop down to, I don't got to do the same thing on every time frame. I can just drop down to each time frame, like the 5.15 and stuff, to see what's happening. But you can see a couple things here in a smaller time frame, right? So you can see that like the 15 here closed above the range here, right? But the 1 hour did not. What else can you see here? 5 is no bottom. We're gonna previous 5 candle. Looking left, your next 15-minute zone is up here at 1919, right? So you may see a drive up towards 1919. But the question is, what happens at 1919? So if I'm looking for sells, I wouldn't look for sells just yet on this 1 hour close, right? Just because the 1 hour candle close one bullish and it's creating a bottom wick here. But I'll look for sells maybe once you tap into 1919 marks. So once you tap 1919, we may look for sells there to come down towards 1915 and even like 1910. Or if price doesn't make its way up towards 1919 or 1920 first, then we can look for buys at 1910. But with the way things are looking, this candle here should continue to drive up towards 1919. And then once it taps into 1919, that's when it should start to pull back. And you have an advantage point from 1919 to 1918. Because even if price were to continue to drive up today, you're going to see price pull back, right? You're going to see pullbacks, bottom wicks before coming up, because you need to grab liquidity. If you're not grabbing liquidity down here, then you gotta grab liquidity somewhere here in this zone here, and that makes sense to be like around 1918 to 1915, and that's where we're taking advantage of, right? So yeah, expect this push here. This candle should drive up another like probably 12-13 pips here, and the moment it taps 1919.915, I'm looking for sells for the 4 hour candle to continue pushing down again, at least towards 1917 or something, right? All right, chat. So that's what I'm looking for today. For gold here. So yeah, we did all of that just to catch 10 pips. No, I'm kidding. We might have runners today, might have not, right? Who knows? But I obviously want runners if we can. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the analysis, chat. Also, the 4 hour candle, and there's gonna be things too that I'm gonna pick up. I'm gonna pick up probably during the session. I'm gonna change and add whatever. And like just like this, even like the 4 hour candle, I don't know if this is considered a closure above the range. this 4 candle may still be respecting this resistance here, which means at any given point it can just flip bearish, right? You don't have news until probably you don't have news until what time? You don't have news until 10, so you have 2 hours left until you actually have something. So we take sells there. How big of stops is gonna be is the question. So what's this over here? Yeah, because I would assume that if you tap into 1919, there's no reason to really break these highs here at 1930, 450. All right, chat. So once you tap like 1919.915, I'll probably look for sells coming to come down towards 1910 and then 1918 and such. But yeah, that's about it. That's the analysis. Highly, I'll say the time frame used for that trade would likely be the 4 hour time frame. Yeah, because the 4 candle has no bottom wick, and we're just referencing the 4 hour time frame to come back down for a range on fake out or to grab liquidity before coming up. Again, we're still bullish today. It's just that price needs to tap certain levels before coming up to be bullish, right? What else do you have here? You have this 1 hour, 4 hour support here as well. 1914, that's the bottom wick area. So 1914 is likely where we can close half at and everything. But let this candle drive. You can't take sells just yet. You want to really see 1919 get tapped. It's very crucial too, because again, if you were to close above, where would you likely retest? 1919 or 1920? Probably 1920 for a bottom wick, right? So like that's your opportunity to get out if you do end up closing above. Yeah, it's 8 a.m. chat, so like, I mean, this is perfect. It'll be better if you had no bottom wick on a daily or on a 1 hour candle, but it's fine. It's 1912, 1910. Stops will be 1934, 450. All right, cool. Can we tap here? This candle should continue to fill the wick here and tap into 1919. If we can push up here with no bottom wick, that'll be perfect. Yeah, we need to break the 4 highs, the 4 ranges highs.